Oh, oh my goodness, what a day of SEC hoops. It is Wednesday, January 14th, as I upload this, and it was just a jam packed day of college hoops. All the way down in Athens, we had an upset as the Ole Miss Rebels get their win in the SEC. And then all the way in Baton Rouge, we have a last second buzzer beater, Christian Laettner style by Moreno for Kentucky. It is just a wild day of college basketball and a wild day in the SEC, especially. And I'm here to break it down for all of you. This is Random SEC. I am Andrew. Please follow, like, and subscribe. All content is everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all the good stuff. And please subscribe here. Let's get into it. All right, starting off, Kentucky and LSU. This game was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Look, at the end there were some controversial calls. Kentucky looked like they got a point in. It didn't count, apparently. Like, it was kind of the similar thing to the Auburn A&M game last week, where it was at the buzzer of the shot clock, and Kentucky, it looked like to me and to the announcers and to everybody that Kentucky got it off. They didn't. LSU takes the lead. LSU has a 1-point lead. Like 1.7 seconds, I think there was to play. Kentucky throws it in. Malachi Moreno grabs it all the way at like the free throw line, picks it up, turns, chucks it off before the buzzer goes, drains it. And a absolute game that Kentucky, you felt like you needed to have it as they win this one 74-75. Like I said, Kentucky just felt like you needed to have it. Are they back? I don't know if I'm going to say that yet. They've got 2 straight SEC wins, though, huge wins. Mississippi State dominated that game at home, and here you go on the road at the PMAC, and you get a big win against LSU. You're going to need every win you can get. You dug yourself a pretty big hole if you're Kentucky, but this is how you do it. You win the you're supposed to. This game looked like they were all but finished, but you play to the buzzer, and that's what happened here. Otego away, 21 points. Denzel Aberdeen had a good game. That's a guy they're going to need to get going. With the absence of Jalund Lowe, he got injured, and he is out for the season. So they're going to need some guard play to step up, and they're just going to need some play to step up in general. I said earlier this week, it reminds me of Arkansas situation last year. If you don't remember, Arkansas started 0-5 in SEC play. Boogie Fland was really their best player. He was their only player. Boogie Fland gets hurt. It looks like he's done for most of the year. And I'm not saying Boogie Fland is not a good player. He was a great player. He was Arkansas. He got hurt. It forced other people to step up. Other people stepped up, and Arkansas ended up going on a tear to end the year and end up in the Sweet 16. And they were good enough to win it all last year. Could that be a similar situation here at Kentucky? I don't know. This win wasn't convincing, but a win is a win in SEC play. We've seen that throughout. No matter the opponent, it could be a dogfight, and it has been a dogfight, and Kentucky gets the win in this dogfight. Malachi Moreno with the final shot. He ends up with 10, scoring double digits. Otega Owe with 21, a guy who's just been on a tear, and they've needed it. Denzel Aberdeen, as I said, 17. Jalovich with 11. That's a guy that Kentucky needs to get going. They started Cam Williams. He gets 5. It was a team effort for Kentucky, and that's what they're going to need to see. They had some good defense, and they got it going on offense. A great, great, great win for the Wildcats. Just a win you needed to have, and they got it. And I really, really felt like they weren't. And then you were talking about different discussions about, Mark Pope, how short his leash is, and it's he's staying alive for now. Kentucky wins 75-74, a great game. But look, LSU backs against the wall. You're 0-3, or 0-4. I don't know, one of the two, but backs against the wall. Your AD said, Matt McMahon, this is kind of a make or break year for him. The fact that he's lasted this long is a little surprising, but it's a make or break year. And you don't make the tournament, I don't think he makes it. And it really doesn't seem like you're going to right now. This is a win at home. You have that at the last second. There's really nothing you can do about that, but just a one that you don't want to see get away from you. A lot of work to be done for LSU, to say the least. That's really all I got for that one. Just a fantastic game, buzzer beater. One of the many fantastic games we had today. Another fantastic game we had today was Ole Miss versus Georgia. Yes, the rematch of the Sugar Bowl. It was in football, and Ole Miss prevails again in an unlikely fashion. Number 21 ranked Georgia goes down 95-97 at the buzzer. Another buzzer beater today in overtime, and just a game that, it was back and forth and back and forth, and it kind of felt like Ole Miss was kind of trailing behind. Georgia was going to pull it away, and then Chris Beard's team comes back and storms into overtime and gets the win. Store with an impressive performance for Ole Miss. You know, Travis Perry or Tyler Perry also had a fantastic performance for Ole Miss. It's we said it's not over for any SEC team right now. If you can muster up a run and get it going, you have a shot. Ole Miss, great start on the road against a good Georgia team, a ranked Georgia team, a Georgia team that's been hard to beat, and you get it done. Big win for Ole Miss. Rough loss for Georgia though, a loss you don't want to see. Ranked 21 because now you have to go erase that game and play Arkansas at home. Just it doesn't get any easier in the SEC, especially for Georgia. But my goodness, Jeremiah Wilkinson is the definition of him. This guy is absolutely insane, scoring 32 points in 39 minutes. That's Jeremiah Wilkinson for Georgia. The guy is just elite. To have that performance and still lose is certainly a feat by Georgia. This was not a I don't know how to say it. This is not a like vintage Chris Beard win. It wasn't dirty, hard mouth basketball to the very end. No, it was kind of a high scoring affair, but they end up pulling it out, and it's obviously been a rough start for Ole Miss. But if any team can turn it around and muster up some sort of appearance in the postseason, I trust Chris Beard a lot in that scenario. Instant classic game. Georgia fans almost is the bane of their existence in 2025 or no 2026 now. 2 losses, football and basketball, so absolutely rough for Georgia fans. But by no means is your season over for Georgia. Still a lot to look forward to, but you turn your head, and like I said, a good Arkansas team showing up in Athens. So you're gonna have to turn your head quick and get it going quick. That is all I have for that game. Let's move on to another game in the SEC, another great game. Missouri and Auburn. Now, this is an Auburn team, guys, who came off a dominant win against Arkansas. We've seen these dominant wins throughout SEC play. It doesn't really seems like it doesn't really matter who you are. It seems like everyone's going to lay an egg, quote unquote, and just get dominated, get the belt. And that was not the case today, but just what Auburn did to Arkansas last week. And they come today, and I'm going to say a disappointing performance from Auburn. Look, this is a game, Stephen Pearl, he kind of got the season momentum changed, and then you go to Missouri and just lose. And it's a 10-point game, but it really just felt like you were never in control of it. And look, Keyshawn Hall didn't have the game he did it last time, but the real story is Mark Mitchell and Stone for Missouri have just been elite this year, and they continue to be so. But Auburn, I think you go back and the story is about Auburn, because how do you let this happen? It just feels like you're still living in that Arkansas game. That was a huge game for you, and I don't want to say Super Bowl, but you got to put up a better performance than that. And these are games that are at the end of the year are going to stack up against you. Just not a good turnout for Auburn. That being said, though, Mizzou extends or advances to 3-1 in the SEC this year. Not something a lot of people had or saw coming after just a disappointing non-conference play. But like we say, it's a whole new season in SEC play, and Dennis Gates has taken that to heart. 3-1, and they are, they're beating some good teams now. Every team in the SEC is a battle. Missouri's handling business. don't be surprised if they get a tournament bid in March. They are playing hot right now. They are playing very, very hot, and, you know, I'm interested to see where they go. They lose to Ole Miss, it kinda feels like, "Okay, we're coming back to earth," but then they come back here and they beat Auburn. Great win for the Tigers, and, we'll see how this fares for them, and there's a lot of season to go left, guys. So many things left to play out. You could make the tournament, you could not make the tournament. We don't really know, but a lot of these wins you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, "Wow, I wish we would've grabbed that one. It was so close. I really wish we would've grabbed that one." That's not how it happens. Second to last game of the evening, Arkansas dominates, and I mean dominates South Carolina. Like I said, there's been a lot of just dominations this year throughout college basketball. It's just a trend that we see, um, and it's not necessarily that Arkansas was that much better than South Carolina. Maybe they are, but I think South Carolina could put up a better performance. I think we're gonna see in the SEC play that home court advantage is just that big of a deal. Arkansas, they're gonna be tough to beat at home. They're gonna be tough to beat anywhere, but they're gonna be tough to beat at home. But the exact performance you wanted to see from Arkansas after, a lackluster, just disappointing, absolutely abysmal performance at Auburn, come back with a performance like this. Still some things you want to improve on, defense especially, but you got a big road test at Georgia. So Arkansas's 3 of the 4 first SEC games are going to be on the road. That's pretty tough. Hope you can pull this one out this weekend. But man, oh man, was this one just everyone got a piece of the pie for Arkansas. I think they had like 6 players in double digits. You don't see that very often in today's college basketball. So just an absolute, everyone's getting a piece of pie. But the guy who really played well, Malik Thomas, Arkansas obviously has these 2 star-studded freshmen, Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas. Malik Thomas, though, was the one who shined most today, putting up 21 points in 25 minutes, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals. The guy was just electric. He could not miss from 3. I think at, like, one point, he was, like, 7 for 9 from 3, so he was very good beyond the arc, or no, 7 for 9 for field goals, but he was very good beyond the arc. Nick Pringle gets, kind of a, revenge game. He was at South Carolina last year, South Carolina native, and that wasn't the only cool thing. There's a lot of cool things about this game. Carter Knox played his brother Kobe Knox, and they were guarding each other. Pretty cool to see. Carter Knox is a guy that Arkansas is going to need to get going a little bit more. He's obviously a little injured, but if Arkansas is going to take that step to be elite, to um, make it far in the tournament, to be a national title contender, Carter Knox is a guy that's going to need to be elite. Right now, he's okay, but we're going to need to see him take that next step, that he has not quite yet taken. He's obviously hurt right now, so you don't want to say too much. Billy Richmond with a good performance. DJ Wagner with a good performance. DJ Wagner is a guy who, he just hasn't had a lot of opportunities today. Gets a lot of playing time today, capitalizes on it, and that's again another guy who Arkansas is going to need down the stretch through this year if they're going to be a national title contender. Billy Richmond, obviously a spark plug. He actually started today, which is interesting for Arkansas. But the South Carolina side of it, what are you going to do? This is just an abysmal performance, and it just feels like Lamont Paris. I don't know if it's a make or break you or not, but 2 years in a row where you're just not even competitive in some of these games, that can weigh on a fan base, and I don't know how long he makes it here. Michi Johnson with a fantastic game for South Carolina, though. Promising guys on the South Carolina team. I don't want to say it's over. They already have an SEC win, so like I said, there's still a path for anybody to potentially make the tournament. But I mean, what is it going to take for Lamont Paris? That's a question that South Carolina administration, that everybody involved there needs to take into account because, in my opinion, this ain't gonna cut it. Um, you had a great year 2 years ago. Last year was abysmal. I don't think you can have 2 years like this in a row and just be satisfied with it if I'm a South Carolina fan, but, just let me know in the comments there. And last but certainly not least, probably the best or most impressive win of the evening, Texas kinda dominates, upsets number 10 Vanderbilt. Yes, this is the number 10 Vanderbilt team who is undefeated going into this game, and they're undefeated no more. They walk into the Moody Center. Texas coming off a huge win at Alabama. They didn't get too high on themselves, though. They came back composed, calm, and collective against a great Vanderbilt team. Yeah, I said it, great. and get the dub. And look, I'm just gonna say it. That's Sean Miller's team. A similar story to Ole Miss, but a little better. They came into conference play, just not an impressive non-conference play. And then they give up a loss to Mississippi State. And they just kind of waltz into conference play. You're like, this Texas team is just not it. What are we doing? Rodney Terry could have done this good. But these 2 games, Texas has shown up to the table of the SEC and been like, "Hello, yeah, this Texas team is legit as of now." Obviously a long way to go, but what a game, just kind of physically dominating Vanderbilt. I don't know about the overrated chance at the end because Vanderbilt's still a good team. I truly believe that. I don't think they're the top number 10 team in the country though, and that showed tonight. Texas though, I mean, a win like this today and a win against Alabama, they can compete with anybody. They almost beat UConn. They could compete with anybody. Sean Miller's team, they're meshing a little bit more. You, you just kind of got to get more of these guys going, but just a great team win. Dylan Swain is a guy that's just elite for Texas. Tremont Mark, just a wild career for him, but I just absolutely love to see when this guy succeeds. And he did today. He was the X factor for Texas. He was the best player on the court. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. The guy was special. And Voyakatatis, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He was also elite, and he's gonna have to be a star for Texas. He got injured at the end of the game. I think he's gonna be all right, but just a guy that is gonna have to be a star. And Kendall Weaver obviously is the spark plug. He's kind of that Billy Richmond for Texas. And Jordan Pope has continued to be consistent for the Longhorns. I say it once, say it again. Texas is legit. The way they're playing right now, that's going to beat a lot of SEC teams, and they could very well, if continue to play like this, find their way in the tournament and even progress a little bit. Just a great Texas team, but Vanderbilt, you're fine. Everyone, like I said, is going to have one of those games where you kind of get dominated. Arkansas had it, Alabama had it, you had it. I trust Mark Byington's still a great year. Still a lot on the table, and I think you'll find that a loss will prove you well down the stretch. It sucks to get that first loss of the season, but it'll be good down the stretch for sure. You'll learn a lot more from a loss than a win, as they say. A great day in the SEC, though. Just I just had to get on here and talk about it because what an absolute killer day, and it was just a normal average Wednesday, and we got a lot of games coming up this Saturday, so you better tune in and you better be ready for reactions for every single one of them. 14-3. Um, oh, I tapped the wrong thing. Arkansas. I tapped the wrong thing again. Arkansas, Georgia, all this. I mean, you got a ton of games. Oklahoma, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky rivalry, another rivalry. A&M, Texas, both hot teams. Vanderbilt, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Florida, another great game. Vanderbilt's got to turn around and go to or play Florida. That's a Florida team that's the hottest team in the SEC right now. Missouri, LSU, both teams, really want that one. Auburn, Ole Miss, both teams need that one. South Carolina, Oh, South Carolina, Auburn. Both teams need that one. Ole Miss and Mississippi State, another rivalry. So 3 rivalries on the weekend and a lot to go. So please make sure you're following on Instagram, Twitter, especially, and TikTok, Facebook, for all your live updates for, just everything to go for that Saturday of Loaded Call Troops. Thanks for listening in, watching in, whatever you're on. This is Random SEC. See you later.